The Syrian War, a conflict that erupted in 2011, transforming once bustling cities into haunting landscapes of devastation. Streets that were once filled with life now echo with silence, their buildings reduced to rubble and dust. The world watched as Syria became the epicenter of one of the most brutal and complicated wars of the 21st century. It was a bloody and complex conflict, marked by shifting front lines and unimaginable human suffering. Millions of civilians were forced to flee their homes, seeking safety from relentless violence. The war's chaos left deep scars on the nation and its people, with families torn apart and entire communities erased. The conflict drew in global powers, each with their own interests and agendas, creating a tangled web of alliances and rivalries. Unexpected partnerships formed as nations vied for influence, and the battlefield became a stage for international power struggles. One such alliance, whispered about in intelligence circles and hidden from public view, flew under the radar. It was a secret pact forged in the shadows that would have far-reaching consequences. Iran, a major player in the Middle East with ambitions that stretch far beyond its borders, was quietly backing a group few would ever associate with the Syrian conflict, the Polisario Front, a movement rooted in the deserts of North Africa. This unlikely partnership, hidden in the shadows of a much larger war, reveals a deeper and more intricate struggle for power. It's a story of secret meetings, covert support, and the pursuit of influence that extends across continents. How did a conflict in North Africa become entangled with the turmoil of the Middle East? The answer lies in the ambitions of nations and the secret deals made far from the public eye. This is a story of covert operations, strategic alliances, and the far-reaching ambitions of a nation seeking to expand its influence. Behind every headline, there are hidden hands shaping the future of entire regions. The Syrian war may be over, but the ripples of this clandestine partnership continue to be felt today. Its legacy shapes the geopolitical landscape in unpredictable ways, reminding us that in war, the most important battles are often fought in the shadows. To understand this alliance, we must first journey to the Western Sahara, a vast, sparsely populated territory on the edge of the Sahara Desert. For decades, the Polisario Front has been fighting for its independence. They claim the Western Sahara as their homeland, free from Moroccan control. The Polisario Front emerged in the 1970s. They took up arms against both Spain, the colonial power, and later, Morocco. Morocco claims historical ties to the territory and considers it an integral part of its kingdom. This territorial dispute has fueled a bitter and protracted conflict, leaving the Western Sahara a disputed territory with a population yearning for self-determination. On the other side of the equation stands Iran, a powerful nation with a long history of regional influence. Iran operates through a complex network of alliances and proxy groups. These groups, often armed and funded by Tehran, allow Iran to project power beyond its borders. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and various Shia militias in Iraq are all part of Iran's web of influence. These groups, bound by ideology or shared interests, act as instruments of Iranian foreign policy. They provide strategic depth, extend Iran's reach, and allow it to counter its regional rivals. Syria, once a relatively stable nation, became a battleground for regional and international powers. The outbreak of civil war in 2011 created a vacuum. This vacuum was quickly filled by external actors eager to shape the conflict to their advantage. Iran, seeing an opportunity to bolster its allies and weaken its enemies, threw its weight behind the Syrian regime. Russia, eager to maintain its foothold in the region, joined the fray on the side of President Bashar al-Assad. The United States, along with its allies, supported various rebel groups seeking to overthrow the Syrian government. It was against this backdrop of chaos and shifting alliances that Iran's support for the Polisario Front came to light. In 2017 and 2018, reports emerged from intelligence agencies and Western media outlets suggesting that Iran, through its proxy Hezbollah, was providing training and possibly weapons to Polisario fighters. These reports, though denied by both Iran and the Polisario Front, raised alarm bells in regional capitals and beyond. The idea of Iran extending its reach into North Africa, a region traditionally outside its sphere of influence, was a worrying development for many. The exact nature and extent of Iranian support for the Polisario Front remained shrouded in secrecy. However, reports suggest that Hezbollah operatives were involved in training Polisario fighters in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, a known Hezbollah stronghold. The training is believed to have focused on guerrilla warfare tactics and the use of sophisticated weaponry. Iran's motives for supporting the Polisario Front are multifaceted. Some analysts believe that Iran saw an opportunity to exploit the Western Sahara conflict to bog down Morocco, a key United States ally in North Africa. Others argue that Iran was seeking to establish a foothold in North Africa, expanding its influence across the Arab world. Morocco reacted with predictable fury to the reports of Iranian support for the Polisario Front. Rabat accused Iran of destabilizing the region and vowed to take all necessary measures to protect its territorial integrity. The Moroccan government severed diplomatic ties with Iran and launched a diplomatic offensive to rally international condemnation of Iran's actions. Algeria, Morocco's regional rival and a longtime supporter of the Polisario Front, maintained a calculated silence. Algeria has long provided refuge to Polisario leaders and allowed the group to operate from its territory. While Algeria denied any involvement in Iran's alleged support for the Polisario, it refrained from condemning Tehran's actions. Recent reports detailing Iran's support for the Polisario Front have sparked significant alarm in both Washington and Tel Aviv. These developments are not occurring in isolation. Rather, they are part of a broader pattern of Iranian activity that has been closely monitored by both the United States and Israel for years. The growing relationship between Tehran and the Polisario Front is viewed as a potential expansion of Iran's influence into new regions, raising red flags among Western policymakers. The United States, already deeply wary of Iran's expanding footprint across the Middle East, has now voiced fresh concerns about Tehran's activities in North Africa. American officials worry that Iran's involvement could destabilize the region, undermine U.S. interests, and embolden other groups hostile to Western allies. The possibility of Iran forging new alliances so close to Europe and the Mediterranean is seen as a strategic challenge that cannot be ignored. The Trump administration, which was particularly hawkish on Iran, responded swiftly and forcefully. Officials condemned Iran's support for the Polisario Front, labeling it as yet another example of Tehran's destabilizing behavior. They called on Iran to halt its activities, warning that such actions could have serious consequences for regional stability and U.S. foreign policy objectives. Israel, which has long regarded Iran as its primary adversary, was especially alarmed by these reports. For Israeli leaders, any sign of Iranian expansion, whether through proxies or direct involvement, represents a direct threat to national security. Israel has consistently expressed concern about Iran's efforts to establish a military or political presence near its borders. The idea that Iran could extend its reach into North Africa, potentially opening a new front, is deeply troubling for Israeli defense planners. The prospect of Iran gaining a foothold in North Africa, a region that, while not directly adjacent, is still relatively close to Israel, was quickly identified as a serious and emerging threat. Both U.S. and Israeli officials are now closely monitoring the situation, aware that any shift in the regional balance could have far-reaching consequences for security and stability in the broader Middle East and North Africa. Iran's decision to support the Polisario Front, though risky, was a calculated gamble. By providing support to a non-state actor engaged in a long-running conflict, Iran was able to exert influence in a region far from its borders. This move allowed Iran to tie down Moroccan forces, divert resources away from other areas, and potentially destabilize a key United States ally. For Morocco, Iran's support for the Polisario Front represented a significant security threat. The Polisario Front, though not capable of defeating Morocco militarily, could continue to wage a low-level insurgency, draining Moroccan resources and undermining stability in the region. The secret alliance between Iran and the Polisario Front, revealed in the crucible of the Syrian war, underscores the interconnectedness of regional conflicts and the far-reaching consequences of seemingly isolated events. What began as a regional dispute over the Western Sahara has the potential to escalate into a broader conflict, drawing in external powers and destabilizing a region already grappling with numerous challenges. This hidden alliance serves as a stark reminder that the battlefields of tomorrow may not resemble those of the past. As global power dynamics continue to shift, we can expect to see more unconventional alliances, unexpected partnerships, and the blurring of traditional lines of conflict. The Syrian war may have ended, but its legacy will continue to shape the geopolitical landscape for years to come. The scars left on the region are not just physical, but deeply political and social, affecting millions of lives and altering the balance of power in the Middle East and beyond. The devastation has forced neighboring countries to adapt and the world to reconsider its approach to conflict and diplomacy in this volatile region. The conflict gave rise to new alliances, exacerbated existing rivalries, and forced both regional and global powers to reassess their strategies. Countries that were once adversaries found common ground, while old friends became new competitors. The shifting allegiances have created a more unpredictable and complex international environment, where trust is fragile and interests are constantly evolving. The war also created a breeding ground for extremism, allowing radical groups to flourish in the chaos. These groups exploited the instability, drawing in fighters and resources from across the globe and making the region a focal point for international security concerns. It also highlighted the willingness of regional powers to project their influence far beyond their borders, using every tool at their disposal, diplomacy, military intervention, and economic leverage, to shape outcomes in their favor. Often, this influence was exerted through the use of proxies and covert operations, as nations sought to avoid direct confrontation while still advancing their interests. These shadow wars have become a defining feature of modern conflict, blurring the lines between state and non-state actors. The unlikely partnership between Iran and the Polisario front is just one example of how the Syrian war has reshaped the geopolitical chessboard. Such alliances, once thought improbable, now reflect the new realities of a world where ideology, necessity, and opportunity intersect in unexpected ways. As we move further into the 21st century, it is essential to understand the complex web of alliances, rivalries, and shifting loyalties that define our era. The lessons of Syria remind us that the consequences of war extend far beyond the battlefield, influencing global politics for generations. In this interconnected world, the interests that drive conflict are more entangled than ever before, making diplomacy, understanding, and vigilance crucial for maintaining peace and stability.